From the creator of the original Exorcist comes my third favorite horror film of all time, William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 3. "15 years after the events of The Exorcist, a series of satanic murders plague Georgetown, leaving the police and the intuitive Lieutenant William Kinderman baffled. Each murder exactly resembles that of the Gemini killer, James Veneman, who was executed the same night that Kinderman's close friend, Father Damien Karras, died. As these brutal killings become more personal and bizarre, Kinderman is led to an amnesiac mental patient who claims to be the Gemini killer himself, but looks like Damien Karras. Now forced to unravel this haunting mystery, Kinderman must challenge his own beliefs in order to overcome not only a sadistic killer, but a vengeful demon in order to save the soul of his dear friend." Now, the original Exorcist, directed by William Friedkin, has been considered one of the scariest movies ever made. And when they had that theatrical re-release with the extended version back in 2000, I sat there in that theater seat, paralyzed with fucking fear. I was scared the fucking death of that movie. And for a long time, I would have agreed that it was the scariest film I have ever seen. But in the years since then, The Exorcist has lost a certain volume of effectiveness with me. But The Exorcist 3 is a film that every single time I watch it, it gets better and better and better and more effective with every single viewing. William Peter Blatty did a tremendous job with this film, writing it and directing it, adapting it from his novel. That even though, like earlier screenings, earlier viewings of this film, I thought there was a couple things that didn't quite work well because there was studio interference in what Blatty was trying to do with the film. But there were things earlier on, when I watched it earlier on, that I thought were problems that didn't quite work well, that even every time I watch it, it starts to flow better. It starts to feel like a more cohesive, better executed film, and that's a remarkable type of thing. And The Exorcist 3 is so good, mainly based on two amazing, incredible performances in this film. The first is George C. Scott. Now the thing is with this film, it does take that time in that first act to build up the characters. And I love how George C. Scott character, Bill Kinderman, who was originally portrayed by Lee J. Cobb, who unfortunately died a few years after The Exorcist was made. So George C. Scott steps in and does bring his powerful, verbose presence and authority to this role. But what I really like about that first act is that you get to know Bill Kinderman as just a regular type of guy. You get very relatable to him. He has a dry sense of humor, which creates a lot of very fun humor that I like in the beginning of the film, and a lot of good interactions with, like, Ed Flanders, who portrays Father Dyer in this film. And does a lot of good things that just makes him a human character. They're very relatable, very dimensional. And Scott does a great job that once you get into the darker, scarier aspects of the film, you get to see how that deductive detective mind of his starts to try to wrap his head around what is going on with all this stuff, and really puts the pieces together, whether or not he's speculative or not of what the hell's going on. It's great stuff. And the interesting thing about this film is that I think it feels much more like it's supposed to be a sequel to Blatty's original Exorcist novel instead of the film, because in the original Exorcist, Karras and Kinderman have one scene together. It's the first time they ever meet, and that's the only time they ever share together. And this film is very much portrayed that they were very best of friends, very close people. So I think there's probably a lot more in Blatty's original novel for The Exorcist that he expanded on in this film and the novel Legion that really comes out in a much different way. So it feels a little odd if you watch the two films back to back, where that kind of strong bond of emotion and care comes from Kinderman saying, "This is my best friend in the whole world." But it really creates that great emotional fiber in the whole film that really drives forward Kinderman throughout this whole plot, and creates a lot of emotion, real strong emotion in Scott's performance that by the end of the film, it's just, whoa man, it just becomes very incredible, very gripping, very powerful. The other great performance in this film, which blows everything the living fuck away, is Brad Dourif. His portrayal of the Gemini killer, James Veneman, is a performance of a lifetime. Whatever role he was on going in this film, I can't even imagine. He is mesmerizing, charismatic. He is putting on a hypnotic, amazing performance in this role that
his character has these long monologues that just going on and on about all this stuff about his backstory, what he's all about, all this kind of stuff that's going on. There really is exposition for the film, which in a lot of cases is the driest stuff in the whole film. But because Brad Dourif is such an amazing actor and putting on such an incredible performance in this part, that it becomes the most gripping stuff in the entire film. It becomes the most sucked in, amazing, mesmerizing, hypnotic stuff in the entire fiber of this entire movie. And it is so damn good. And all he is just locked in the cell, locked in this straitjacket. He's not even really moving around all that much. There's not a lot of action, animated stuff he's doing. It's just him sitting there, and I can't even put the accurate words towards it to explain it to you. You have to see this performance to understand the depth of detail and power that he has in this role. It is so damn good. Brad Dourif has done amazing work in so many things. This is the fucking pinnacle. This is the pinnacle of everything he's ever done, in my opinion. It is so damn good. And the rest and the supporting cast of film, really fucking solid. Really, really solid stuff. There's no weak links anywhere. Everyone portrays their characters very solidly, very well-rounded. They all interact very well. There's a lot of good chemistry all over the place. But Blatty as the director, William Peter Blatty directs this film with such great suspense and tension. There is one scene in this film, the absolute best jump scare you will ever see in a film, and is executed with brilliance. Absolute fucking brilliance. The build up to this moment scares the living fuck out of me every single time. It is the best scare I've ever seen in a goddamn film ever. And that's just one part of this whole fucking film. Blatty does a fantastic job with the atmosphere, the suspense, the creepiness, the eeriness, every little thing that he weaves in and out of this film, with all the supernatural elements and the crime detective work. It's such a well-plotted, meticulously executed film. He does a fantastic job. I think the script he wrote, for what ended up on the film, really works damn well. And we directed everything superb, absolute superb. There was, in pre-production and development of the film, John Carpenter was actually approached to direct the film, but I guess he turned it down. Blatty is not a second-rate choice whatsoever. What he did in this film is absolutely amazing. Almost perfection on my part. Because there was some of that studio interference forcing changes to Blatty's original vision for the film. I mean, they even changed the title from Legion, which was the name of the novel, to Exorcist 3. But in doing so, they realized there was no exorcism in the film. So they added this character, Father Morning, who has like one or two scenes with no character development or any real integration into the plot before the finale, which becomes this big, over-top, grandiose spectacle of an exorcism, which does seem like a drastic departure from the much more subtle, low-key style that Blatty was directing the rest of the film with. But you can kind of feel like this demon that's been festering inside of Karis for 15 years is finally breaking the gates of hell open and unleashing everything it's got. It's one big fight against everything. But there's still good emotional payoff in this thing between Kinderman and Karis and all that kind of stuff. There's still that core of the story going on in that climax. And it's one of those things that the more I watch it over these years, it becomes more cohesive. Whether it's become more expective of it, become more comfortable with it, or it just feels like it fits better into the film. I definitely think that The Exorcist 3 is an excellent film that should be considered a classic along with the first film, because the franchise has gotten a lot of bad reputation because a lot of these, like Exorcist 2, which I've never seen, or the prequels, which I've never seen, which have gotten a lot of bad reputation, largely for a lot of good reasons. But Exorcist 3 is a great film that should be definitely given the time and attention and recognition it deserves. You should definitely go check out Exorcist 3, my number 3 favorite horror film of all time, which means there's 2 more left, people. There's 2 more coming up. So you guys stick around, find out what my next 2 are, because they might be slightly unexpected. You never know, because I did mention there's another John Carpenter film in this thing. You might not be able to guess what it is, but you can stick around, check it out. Post some comments below. What is your favorite Exorcist film? Did you love the first film? Is that still your favorite, most scary film you've ever seen? What do you really love? Do you love Exorcist 3? What do you love? Do you actually like some of the lesser regarded, The Exorcist 2 or the prequels? Or which prequel did you like better, or which one did you fucking hate like hell? Post some comments, some interactions, get some discussions going. If you like what you see, spread some links around, hit some subscribes and like buttons. Forever Horror Month continues. So stick around. I'll be back soon.